Hey there, it's Dex. So yeah, I wanted to do a video, kind of in response to one that I saw, and it was called Five Things You Should Consider Before Transitioning. And it's really about the five things you really don't hear about when you're really considering transitioning. And I wanted to do a video called 10 Things You Should Consider When Someone You Love is Transitioning. So this is something to be shared if you're transitioning and you have friends or family and they're not really fully understanding it, as well as if you're transitioning and things that you really are going to want to get ready and get used to dealing with. Granted, I'm only about 3 months into my medical process, 3 months on T, but these are things that I guess I've come across myself personally from noticing from other people. So here we go. 10 things you should consider when someone you love is transitioning. Number one, a name is more than letters. And that really stems from the fact that what you call someone has a history. You know, you spend all of your time being known by this name, this persona, this entity. And so when you transition, you want to change that. You want that person to more or less disappear. I don't want people to call me by my birth name. I want to be called Dex, Dexter, anything like that. I don't even want to be called D. Like, I just want to be called Dex or Dexter. My life before that was just that. My life before that, it was known under my birth name. I do not want to be held to those expectations and then held to those responsibilities like I was beforehand. I'm forging a new life, and I want to be respected as such. And the big consideration that you should really focus is when someone is transitioning. A name means a lot. And for me personally, what I consider is that what you call someone is detrimental to how you see them. And the first step towards accepting someone, in my opinion, really truly accepting someone as they're transitioning, is by what you call them. And if you can't call them by the name their new name, then there's more that needs to be worked out because that name symbolizes a completely new beginning and basically all of the steps 2 through 10 for the rest of this video. So a name is very important. Alright, number 2. Puberty sucked the first time around, but it is nothing compared to this. Okay, going through puberty the first time sucked, and everybody who went through puberty pretty much can agree that it sucked the first time. Alright, so going through it again is even worse, but it's not like you're going through the same thing, you're basically going through the opposite of everything you went through the first time. So when someone's going through this process, especially if they're of a different gender than what you are, as in, my family, my mom and my aunt, I'm going through male puberty. They're females. They don't understand this. So I barely understand this, okay? I didn't have any brothers growing up that lived in the house. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have male puberty happening at the same time, like simultaneously with me. So we're all learning this. So I'm like, if I'm the one going through this and this is hard for me, I can understand it's hard for you, but if it's hard for you, imagine this could be significantly harder for me. There's a lot of questions, a lot of things. And so you really have to understand that basically you're be dealing with a teenager for the next 6 years, more or less. Like they're going to be going through all those awkward phases again, and it's going to be really hard. And this affects the next two for sure. And that's the next like 4 or 5, and that really it's next to number 3, and that is that when you're physically living in between genders, it's extremely hard, and it's a lot harder than it just appears. It's not something like I go outside and I'm a chick, and I come back inside and I'm a dude. It's really not as simple as that. Like in my case, the whole entire, cutting the hair. This is my masculinity. I work as a cashier in a grocery store, so I'm a public figure, unfortunately. But they see me as this first name, and everything associated with that name, which is female. So as I'm trying to transition, I'm stuck in between genders and not in a pleasant way. It is that you have these expectations of what a female should be like. And then when people find out that you're transitioning, then they have the expectations of what they expect you to be like. Except on one hand, it's like on one hand, yes, if I laugh at something, if I giggle at something, it's like, oh, but you're trying to be a guy, you can't giggle. And I'm like, what? Or it's like, you should be more empathetic than that. You're a girl. What? Like, I don't know how to respond. In reference to number 2, I had a friend of mine tell me that he was dating someone who was a transsexual woman, so she was male to female, and he said what was really hard was that she was starting HRT what was really difficult was that, he was like, I understand boy puberty. He's like, but I don't understand girl puberty. And it's really hard when someone you care about is going through something you really don't understand what they're going through. And he's like, it was hard being supportive. I could be a friend. He's like, but being a lover, it was really difficult. So, you're in between. I mean, you still have the puberty side effects from what you're, especially like if you're female to male, if you're an FTM, you may still have your period, but you're getting facial hair. So you're like, people don't know how to respond, and it's really difficult because if I have to go to the store and I have to buy tampons or pads or something, and my voice is like, hey, how you doing? It's really weird, but I have female boobs, but I have like facial hair, my hair's cut. Nobody knows how to respond, and so then it makes you really uncomfortable. So it's really difficult. Number 4, and that is your mood will change. Their mood will change. Moods will be changing all over the place. Okay, as an effect of the chemical, the hormone changes, things really do change, and they really don't understand fully how the hormones are really affecting things, but trust and believe that they do affect a lot. Pre-T, I was it took a lot to make me angry. It took a lot. I could put up with a lot of people's crap for a long time, but now you get like 3 strikes and I'm done. And I'm just like, nope, get out of my face. I don't want to deal with this right now. Like, I will curse you out. Like, I don't even want to deal with this right now. Me personally, I'm just a little less patient. And I'm pretty quick to the point. If I have something I need to tell you, it's pretty much this is what I need to tell you. I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's no, what else, I don't see the point at this point. So, my mood's changed, and my big source of contention with my family is that, they think I have an anger problem, and I'm like, that's because I spent the first 19 years of my life micromanaging and compartmentalizing my anger because I had to deal with you all, and I didn't want to make you uncomfortable, so I made myself uncomfortable in order to try to keep peace in the house, okay? And I'm not gonna sit in silence anymore. And I'm like, now if I get angry, I'm gonna get angry. I'm gonna show you I'm angry. What's the point of me not showing you I'm angry? And they're not used to it, so that's something you want to get used to is anger, sadness, all these emotions will adjust. Okay, which leads to number 5, which is that your personality will most likely change. Okay, how you saw the world, your actions, your reactions, your opinions, all these things will change because now you're seeing the world in a different way. And societally, it's like that male privilege versus like, even female privilege, the things that, when you start passing, you start seeing the world in a different way, like, in a more masculine sense, I kind of understand in some ways, like, why men kind of view women the way that they do, like in almost like a predatorial sense, where it's like, I'm gonna talk to her. No, I'm gonna talk to her. As an example, when beforehand it'd be like, or like beforehand I'd be like, oh yeah, thinking obscene thoughts. Or beforehand I'd be like, I really want to have a conversation with her and really get to understand. I see her in a different light, and it's not. I'm not gonna say men are dogs or anything, but it's just like, again, the puberty thing. Things kind of fluctuate and change. So that is something that is really difficult, and you will feel like you're losing the person that you once knew. And when you're transitioning, you're gonna feel like you're losing who you were, because you are. You're letting that person go. So that's one of the hardest things for people who are transitioning to deal with themselves, is that all the things you loved about yourself beforehand are also going to change with all the things you hated about yourself beforehand. And hormones aren't just going to make it all go away. Top surgery, bottom surgery is not going to make it all go away. There's a whole lot more that's there. So all of this is going to be compounded, and it's going to be hard, which leads me to number 6. And that is, there will be a time of mourning. You will go through the stages of mourning. You're going to go through that grief. You're going to go through the denial. You're going to go through the depression, the anger, the bargaining, and eventually, hopefully, the acceptance. You're going to go through all that. And if you're looking at this video, you probably want to get to the acceptance part pretty soon. So you're going to, because this person is more or less, you're having a funeral for that previous name. And when you start to acknowledge the new name, that new person, that new persona, you start to acknowledge me as Dex, or for the cases, if my name was Jane and now I'm James, or my name was Jane and now I'm Jared, we have to have a funeral for Jane, so that Jared can live. So there is going to be a time of mourning when you're going to be feeling sorry for that son that you lost, or that daughter you lost, or that friend you lost, that girlfriend, that boyfriend, that brother, that sister, but now they're becoming something new. It is a time of, loss, but it's a time of gain. So it is going to be a bit of both, and you both have to be prepared for that. Now, number 7 is like a culmination of the first 6 and number 8, and that is that self-hatred plus societal hatred plus just general struggle will result in and yield a product of depression, distance, and suicide, and including anger. Like, anger is pretty important too. So you will most likely, anyone who's transitioning will feel all of these things, if not most of them. And that is that if you look at it like this is my struggle, that darkness in the center is that internal struggle. Everything else that's encapsulating is my societal struggle, and everything that makes up these fingers is just my personal struggle. And this fist is the struggle that I'm dealing with as I'm transitioning. To make it easier and to relieve some of that personal struggle is to relieve the societal struggle. And that society includes your friends and family. Friends and family make up a lot of the societal and just general struggle you're going to be facing. So to relieve the burden on the person transitioning, as well as on your personal burden, really do accept that there's a lot going on, and there's a lot who don't understand. There's a lot of people who out there who just don't care. They don't want to understand. They don't understand. There's a lot of struggle, and that is something that you will have to face, and it's so much easier to face it together than to face it alone, because trust and believe, facing the world alone hurts. It hurts a lot. And, I understand depression, I understand anger, I understand distance, but the last thing you would ever want is for that person to reach suicide, where they felt that all of that struggle is just way too much, and it's not even worth continuing. Number 8, and that is really important, is that you may be uncomfortable. Okay? You will be uncomfortable. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be uncomfortable. You're losing your son, your daughter, they're going through puberty, moods changing, all this stuff. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be incredibly uncomfortable. But the person transitioning is 10,000 times more uncomfortable than you are. Okay? And I know I'm speaking from personal experience because, with my name, number 1, my mom she doesn't like Dex. She doesn't like Dexter. She doesn't like the name. And I'm like, it's not that you don't like the name, it's that it makes you uncomfortable because your daughter is gone. Everything about your daughter is gone. Everything, haircut, name, everything, all that's gone. The person that you once knew, she still keeps my senior picture up there. It's all gone, okay? That it's slowly disappearing, and it makes you uncomfortable. And right now I do feel that she's taking it out on me in a sense that she feels more uncomfortable, and that we need to reach a compromise of her calling me D instead of Dex. And I'm like, you're not going to reach a compromise on what you call me. Like, that is my name, because I do understand that you feel uncomfortable, but I'm the one living in between genders. I'm the one who has to go through the process of getting all of my documents changed. I'm the one who can't just walk out in public and not have someone call me babe or honey or sweet thing and call me by my birth name. Okay, I'm the one who has to recreate my entire life, my entire past. I can't share my past with people. When you transition, that entire past, it just disappears. You know what I'm saying? It's got to disappear. You can't show those old photos if you're going stealth. Stealth, i.e. that people don't know you transition. So there's a lot that I'm giving up for this life that I'm pursuing. And then people, and then you run into that situation which, people make you feel worse, and they're like, well, you asked to do this, and it's like, I just want to feel good about myself. Okay, and that again is a video in itself. That's a debate in itself. But I understand that you feel uncomfortable, and it's hard for you, and the person transitioning understands that too. But you also consider that this is their life too. This is their life, and they are going through this, and you're seeing it from the outside. But imagine what it's like to be on the inside, because it's a whole lot harder. The grass really isn't greener on the other side. It's really hard. So please be open and receptive to that. Okay. Number 9, and this is one of the few things people will say, when they first find out someone's transitioning, in an attempt to make the person transitioning feel good and then themselves feel good, and they will say, "You will always be insert birth name here to me," and that is like, you'll always be Jane to me, even though I want you to call me Jared. And it comes back to number 1. If you can't call me by the name that I told you, then you can't accept me for who I'm becoming. You still hold me to the expectations and the memories of who I was and who you thought I was. And that is more discouraging and depressing and adds to struggle for someone who is transitioning. And there's nothing wrong with saying, you'll always be my child. You'll always be my best friend. You'll always be my lover. You'll always be my sibling. But when you do say that you'll always be my daughter, when I most clearly am becoming your son, that hurts. And that's really an understatement. It really does make you feel like nothing you can do is worthy, and that you'll never, at least in my opinion, it makes me feel, I know, that nothing I can ever do is worthy of acceptance. That I'll never be enough. And there's nothing like that feeling when you realize that you may never be enough for your family, and that the people who are supposed to love and care about you, that you're taught are going to defend you till you die, will never accept you for who you are, and that you'll always be someone else to them, and that it's as if everything you do now from this point forward isn't being taken seriously. So please don't ever say that to someone. If they're transitioning, if they're considering transitioning, even if it's a phase, I mean, anything, whatever their case may be, please don't ever say that, because it affects you on such a deep level that it really does create that distance. And I do understand that you are trying to, comfort, but that's not the comfort they need. Yeah, and then number 10, the really big one, is this person is committed to making this transition. Every aspect of their life is going to transition, from the physical to the mental to the spiritual to everything is transitioning. And they are making the effort for this self-discovery and this evolution. And if you want to be involved in your life, you have to be willing for the self-discovery and the evolution just as much as they are. So steps 1 through 9, all the changes 1 through 9 are going to be very, very important. And if you can't understand number 10, 1 through 9 are going to be hell of a difficult. They're going to be hell of a difficulty, and it's going to make it significantly worse. And I don't ever want to see someone out here lose someone they love and they care about, or their child, lover, best friend, sibling, whatever, cousin, just walks out of their life because they're taking this journey and they feel that they can't even walk with it, walk through the journey with you. That you're not, or they feel like at the end of this journey, or they're at a stopping rest point or something, that they'll never see you again. Like they have to walk away from you in order to make their journey. That's one of the worst things ever, when you feel like you have to choose, become myself or give up my family. So, if I'm making this journey, and I'm willing to broaden my understanding of gender, sexuality, sex, all of these things, and what it means to be a person, my hope is that you meet me halfway. Not just for me, but for you too. So, I'm sorry this is so long, but, to me, this is it. These are 10 things that you should really do consider if someone that you love is transitioning. And I'll post the 10 steps, or the 10 things below, so that you can really get a chance to see it. But feel free to spread this to someone, to let people know. This is the best that I could put the words into it. When I get a chance, I might let my family see it. Maybe when I go back off to college, I don't know. But, I'm starting my process, and I've already noticed these things. And there's a lot of you out there who don't want to lose your loved ones, just like I don't want to lose mine. So I really do hope that this helps someone. And it's 1 o'clock in the morning, so I'll talk to you guys later. But I really do wish you all the best of luck.